And I know people are going to be, Joshua, why are you using a chopping board on your chopping board? Hi friends, I'm Joshua. I'm a year older. As you can tell, thanks to your generosity, I was able to get myself a birthday present that will hopefully make these videos sound a lot nicer. We will see. Otherwise, this is all an unmitigated disaster, and I'll find that out in about an hour or so. And now I have to get used to not screaming towards my camera when I talk. Today I'm making one of my favorite recipes from when I was a kid, a very well-known dish from New Orleans called gumbo. This recipe really is childhood for me. It's something we had all the time when I was a kid. Definitely one of my favorite things. It's comfort food in a pot. I'll go through everything you need for this recipe. You're gonna need 6 boneless, skinless chicken thighs, 500 grams of chorizo, 1 cup or 250 grams of peanut oil, 4 ribs of celery that have been finely diced, 1 green capsicum or bell pepper that's been finely diced, 1 whole white onion finely diced, 4 to 5 cloves of garlic, 1 liter of good quality chicken stock, bay leaves, 1 cup of plain flour, and then a Cajun seasoning blend that can be homemade or bought from a store. I'll put the makeup of this in the description. Salt and pepper to taste, and this gets served over white rice, so I'm gonna get that going on the rice cooker now. I'm gonna get started on the chicken first. You wanna just take a big bowl, put all of this chicken into it, and I'm gonna take about 2 tablespoons of the Cajun seasoning and just mix this all up so that the chicken gets coated in the seasoning blend. Gonna get the pot going. I'm just gonna get a little bit extra peanut oil in the bottom to sear the chicken, and then just gonna lay the chicken in. That's gonna sear for about 4 minutes, and then I'm gonna flip it and sear it on the other side for another minute or so. While the chicken's cooking, I'm going to get the chorizo. If this was New Orleans, this would be done with andouille sausage, and that just does not seem to be a thing that is in Australia. So chorizo's a decent substitute. This just gets cut up into rounds. If you do use chorizo, make sure it's a Spanish style one, not the Mexican. Very delicious, but a slightly different flavor profile that doesn't really work with the gumbo the same way. And I know people are gonna be, Joshua, why are you using a chopping board on your chopping board? This thing is just for logistics. I wish you could understand how reflective my kitchen is. The sausage done. I'm gonna give the chicken a flip. And that's gonna cook for another minute or so. Then I'm gonna get the chicken out and just set it aside in that bowl it was in earlier. Then immediately get the sausage in. Give that a stir, and this browns for about 2 minutes. Then I'm gonna lower the heat to about medium-high, and I'm gonna get the sausage out in a separate bowl. And then we set that aside. Take that cup of peanut oil, and all of this goes in, and let that heat up for about a minute. So once that oil is hot, we're gonna take the flour and start adding that in bit by bit, and taking a whisk and whisking, scraping up all of the bottom, and this is making a roux. You're gonna keep whisking this for about 15 minutes all up, and the flour is gonna start changing color from this sort of raw, uncooked, and get darker. And it's gonna look like it's burnt and you've ruined it, but once the flour's mixed in, I switch out a whisk for a wooden spoon, just making sure I'm scraping up the bottom of it to get the bits so they don't catch. We're gonna keep cooking this until the flour looks like chocolate and the mixture itself almost has the consistency of cookie dough batter. And be careful while you're stirring. This is hot oil. You will burn yourself. There's another traditional ingredient that I am omitting from this because I personally cannot stand it. Okra. Okra can get in the bin. I hate it. I've never liked it. I won't cook with it. As a stand-in, towards the end of it, if it needs to be thickened up a little bit, you can use cornstarch, corn flour, but I cannot stand it, and I won't use it. I know purists are gonna be upset with me for that, but bite me. The roux is the most tedious part of the recipe, stirring it for 15 minutes. It's like making risotto. But once you're past that point, the rest of it's quite easy and simple. Hi, here we are 47 hours later. I forgot how long it takes to make a dark roux. I've been stirring this for a good hour at least. This is just getting to the color I want it to be. Kind of resembles the color of really dark coffee, which is just about where we're at now because you're cooking it to the color, not specific time. The mixture is a little bit runnier, but that's fine. I like gumbo a bit more like a soup than a stew, and we can always thicken it up at the end anyway. So this is about where I want it an entire millennia later. While this was cooking as well, I took the chicken and I diced it up into pieces. So now I'm gonna add in all of the vegetables. In goes the celery, the onion, bell pepper. Stir that all around. And this is gonna cook for about 5 minutes. I've also reduced the heat to about medium as well. I'm also gonna add in the garlic now as well and let this cook. Stir that. And now I'm gonna add in the chicken stock. And stir that, and make sure you scrape the bottom to deglaze the pot as well. So now goes the bay leaves and a generous tablespoon of that seasoning blend, bit of black pepper. I'll check the salt levels towards the end of the recipe. And now in goes the sausage and any of the juice that came out, as well as the chicken. Stir that all up. Then this gets a lid. Lower the heat to medium-low, and this is gonna cook covered for at least an hour. See how it goes. The longer you can leave it, honestly, the better the flavors develop. Because I'm a silly numpty, this rice is probably gonna end up being used for fried rice later on, and I'll redo a fresh batch when this is closer to getting finished. But in the meantime, this is gonna cook, and I'll be back when it's ready to serve. Hello, friends. We are back 74 years later. I haven't made this recipe in a very long time. I realized after the process, I don't think I've made it since I've moved to Australia whatsoever. At least 15 years. I dramatically forgot how intensive this whole thing is, but we're nearing the finish line. I've been letting this go for about 2.5 hours at this point, until it's thickened to the consistency I want. It should be thicker than a soup, but runnier than a stew. I did not bother making more rice. I've been doing this for 4 hours now. I'm tired. If you ever want to reheat already cooked rice, wet a paper towel, put it over the rice, and that steams it and revives it. While this was cooking, I remembered one other thing that this recipe gets. Traditionally, you would add ground sarsaparilla leaves at the very end, which does two things. It helps thicken the gumbo, and it adds a sort of root beery, sarsaparilla-ish kind of taste. I can't find the sausage that this gets, so I don't even want to attempt to get sarsaparilla leaves. So instead, in a mortar and pestle, I ground up 1 star anise, teaspoon of clove, and a bit of nutmeg. Added that in, and then also threw in a whole star anise as well. I've also added an additional tablespoon of garlic powder and probably another teaspoon of dried chili flakes. I did all of that off camera. You don't need to see everything I do. Respect my privacy. I'm gonna check this for salt because I also did add a little bit of that as well. It's like a hug from my childhood. Now I get to try and fish out 5 bay leaves and a star anise. One, two, three. Ugh, always that last one. Aha! Rice. A good bit of the chicken and sausage. And there we go. One of New Orleans' most famous dishes. Recipe quite near and dear to my heart, even if it is exhausting. That you've got a bit of the chicken and the sausage and all of the vegetables. This is just, Don't let the amount of time this does end up taking discourage you. There's a reason that this is one of New Orleans' most famous exports. Well, I did make it spicy though. My head's sweating. Thank you, as always, for joining me. If you enjoyed this, please do the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. I only burned myself once making the roux, so that's much more successful than it has been in the past. Thank you again, everyone who chipped in for the birthday fundraiser. Fingers crossed the audio is nicer. We will find out when I go to edit. It is now dinner time. My lunch gumbo has become an evening meal, so I'm gonna go finish this. Have a good night.